Hi and welcome, and thanks to my sponsor Kathleen Wayland of Wayland Financial in LaSalle. You'll find the Wayland Financial Group at 128 Buckland. 100 years ago, LPO Junior College was started, and 2 years ago it named as its new president an IVCC graduate, and that was the first time that had happened. Dr. Tracy Morris kicked the school into its centennial high gear, really a year-long celebration, big things and small. The year symbolically ends at the school's gala on April 12th, and the next day, the next century starts. Now, actually, that's not true. It's already well underway because the school's always focused on its mission, the students and the future and the community, and it's always looking forward. And this talk with Dr. Morris that you'll see today happened this past week in a modern, forward-looking learning space. And we'll get into that new space in part 2 next week. Today, though, let's have Dr. Morris paint a picture of IVCC's past and its vision for the future with a very relevant look at the present.
Well, we did the 100-year celebration for a little more than a year. I always say I followed the Disney model of from the very first possibility to the end. So we started the celebration with my investiture, which was September of 23. As kind of the kickoff event. We announced President Emeritus status for our past presidents who qualified. We had a wonderful celebration to celebrate past and future, and that was kind of the official kickoff. And so since then, we've been doing different events, small events, large events, student-based events, community-based events, so many different things to celebrate 100 years. And some of the highlights have been obviously the magazine that we worked on that was sent out that just told so many stories of multi-generation IVCC families, the future, the past, alumni. It was just so wonderful. I'm still giving them out. It's been so fun to see people come up and tell their stories. And you know, I'm a storyteller. I love to tell my IVCC story. I've told it a number of times. But it's because there are so many stories like mine, and so many that are even more powerful than mine, that we just have to remember how much IVCC changes lives. So it's been 100 years of awesomeness. For me personally, it's coming up. We're going to wrap up next weekend with our gala as our final official event. Of course, we'll still celebrate a commencement and some other things, but we kind of wanted to start with the party, end with the party to celebrate. So the gala is going to benefit our foundation. We're going to have some auction events, some really great fundraising, but most importantly, it's just to remind us of what we do to serve our students. And then next year, the foundation turns 50 years old. So we'll probably have to have some more celebrations.
It's just nothing but one big party.
I know, it sure is. It sure is. It's just been, everything that we've been doing is trying to celebrate our past and really leading to the future. It's going to keep growing and making sure that every student feels welcome here, if you want a really easy headline statement. We've done strategic planning over the last few years. We've just rolled out our strategic plan. It's on the website for the public to see if they'd like to. They can go to our website, search for strategic plan, they'll be able to see it. But it really is about growing our programs, innovating in education, and improving our facilities. So those three things are kind of our vision for the next 10 years, where we're going to continue to work on how can we innovate in the classroom? How can we teach students in new ways? How can we improve the learning environment, whether that's better Wi-Fi, which is coming up on the horizon, whether that's better lighting in our classrooms, different furniture options, as well as new ways to innovate, new ways to teach. Truck driver training just received 2 new simulators. Came directly from feedback from our advisory council. They're like, your program is great, but they don't get any mountain training. And if they take the class in the summer, they don't get any winter training. Right. So we started talking, well, how can we do that? We don't have mountains here. And the idea of simulators came up. So we were able to get a grant, I believe through the state of Illinois. I don't have that in front of me, but a grant to allow us to get 2 simulators. So before they even get in the truck, they'll be able to, I'm hoping they'll let the president practice. That's not going to be my deal. I'm not very good at backing up. But I think that the way that we move forward in the future is going to have more of that simulation. We learned that through COVID in our nursing department. We had to get our nursing curriculum different. It had to be delivered differently. And so, using simulations, we have some great lab. Need to upgrade the facilities around the really cool simulation pieces, but they have things that they can practice giving IVs before they ever stick a patient. Pretty important stuff. So we have a virtual med cart, or an interactive med cart, where they can actually have an iPad like they do in the hospital, and they get the orders and they have to go match to a medicine vial, scan it in, make sure it matches. No medicine, but it's the same exact experience. So it's really exciting to see as we innovate to go for the future, but still honoring the past. You know, we've always been, community college faculty have always been dedicated to teaching. University faculty usually have a research focus, which is awesome. It's amazing and we need that. But our teachers are here to teach. And so that is at the core of everything we do with distance learning, everything we do with simulation is based around our awesome faculty and the fact that they are here because they love teaching community college students. Can't go wrong with that. You know, I think we're always trying to be as efficient as we can. And there's a big difference between cutting and slowing your growth. And so you have to be, always a tight balance between, you don't want to just spend blatantly. We've always been very conservative in our spending here at IVCC. We've always worked really hard to keep our tuition low and as affordable as possible. As there's uncertainty at the federal level, it's been difficult and a lot of people are afraid. So our understanding has been that the focus for saving financial aid is still pretty much agreed upon both sides of the aisle. Financial aid is the key to a family sustaining job. Whether that's a 4-week truck driver training, 16 weeks of welding, going to become a teacher, early childhood, all of those things have some level of schooling. And so the only way we can get people to be able to break that cycle of poverty is education. The good news is right now, it sounds like they are committed to maintaining Pell Grants. Where they're going to be implemented, don't know. And that's an uncertainty, but that commitment is there. Where it's really concerning for me is really in what's called TRIO programs, is one of our big grants here, which serves first-generation college students whose parents did not have a bachelor's degree by the time they turned 18, which I am, a first-gen, students with low income, or students with disabilities, or a combination of the three. So the program serves about 165 students each year who are what you would consider to be at risk in one category or more. And their success rates are amazing because it's a small caseload. They work very intentionally to engage them in leadership activities and cultural activities and priority advising, time management, et cetera. Those grants are transformational for the students. I would love to do that for every student. We do not have a budget like that. But the TRIO model works, and it's worked for 50 years, I think. So I think if we can continue to have that be supported at the federal level, that will make me feel a lot better. Our adult education is another one. It's a pass through the state, but it's very important for people who want to get their GED and then move forward or transition those jobs. So the biggest uncertainty for us right now, obviously, is at the federal level with dollars. We are not as federally funded as maybe some other colleges and research institutions, so I feel good about that. But we're constantly watching the legislation to see where it goes. And I just want our students and our staffs to know that we are going to do everything we can do to make sure that they do not suffer as a result of any of that. And that's my big job, is to make sure that when I hear someone say that they're really afraid, to reassure them to the level I can, that we are here to protect them and to do whatever we can do, because education changes lives. And so we've got to block the noise out so that they can focus on their education. We need to trim back, whether it's the Department of Education or any of the federal departments, and people immediately think bureaucracy, which is fair, right? I don't think people realized the speed in which it was going to be done and that it wasn't really going to be methodical. And so I think anybody, myself included, would say, whenever you have an institution that large, there's ways to trim down and be more efficient. It shouldn't be carte blanche all the time. And that's the same for us here. Every time a position comes open, they have to justify why we're going to refill it. Every single position. They have to be able to show me why this is still needed. We do a lot of repurposing of positions, changing, combining, reallocating.
Finding efficiencies.
Because you can't just continue to add headcount. So I think that a lot of people feel like there's a lot of bureaucracy, top heaviness. Even in higher education, I think people say that. But I really believe that at the core of it, it is about helping people get to that goal so that they can support their families. So you may have heard in the state a little bit about the community college baccalaureate. And it's still, there's a lot of pushback, a lot more pushback than we really anticipated at first. For a college like ours, it'd be life-changing. But the other states that have done this, the community college baccalaureate has not taken away from universities. It has added more people into the pipeline. And that's what's really, really important. And I think some of our partners understand that. Some of our legislators understand that very well. but it's about people who would not go back to school now having an option. And our education, I mean, we are an hour away from everyone. And not everyone has the ability to do that. And online learning is not for everyone. Right. So, if we can get this through the legislator, the governor has been an extreme supporter of this. If we can get it through, you're not talking a lot of numbers. It may be 30 students a year, 50 students a year max that would benefit from that in our community. That's 50 people who now have a bachelor's degree, and we have very low bachelor's completion rates in our area. A lot of it is location. So the opportunity is there. I've been a big proponent of it. I've been a part of the task forces. The time is now. The last time I looked at the numbers, we were within 200 head count of where we were pre-COVID, which is great. So it's been a slow process. It's been a long process, but we are seeing that growth. Where I still think we have opportunity to grow is in our non-traditional student market. So when I was here before in admissions, our average age was around 27 or 28. We're at 23 to 24. So what we've seen is we've done a really great job with that right out of high school, whether that's summer, whether that's fall, whether it's dual credit, all those things combined have really guided us through. It's harder with adult students because when the economy is tough, you have to choose between working and going to school. Well, usually working wins. For sure, but it's also harder to find them and let them know what the opportunities are. Where we've really put our emphasis the last 2 years has been really on retaining the students we have. Because it's easier to keep a student who's here by offering them. We have a fully functioning food bank. We have mental health support. We have academic counseling. We have career services counseling. We have some food service on campus. We have a fantastic library. We have student life. All those things, if we can do a better job with all of those things, the students are more likely to stay. Our founding boards, founding educational leaders were top-notch. When you look at, Thomas J. McCormick, I believe he went to Harvard. We had Princeton. We had really Ivy League people come here because they believed that it was important to have a high-quality education. So I think they would always see that no matter what, we would be changing to be high quality. I think even as recently as Dr. Wiskowski, one of the first big grants was for computers and technology. And so they knew the power of it. And every president since then has really tried to push in some way, shape, or form innovation. Dr. Corcoran, the Ottawa Center, let's outreach and let's be visible in the community. Dr. Goodnow and Dr. Custer, who was the academic VP at the time, really changed the way that we supported faculty to learn pedagogy and to really learn how to teach. So I feel like each of the presidents that I've worked with has had a different spin on it. I don't think anybody, including myself, would have pictured something like this because that's not what we ever saw in classrooms. When I came as a student, it was the first time I ever saw a teacher in jeans. It was just not a common thing. Whatever that is that makes the education experience unique, that's what we continue to strive for. And it's not for me to say that. Each faculty kind of designs how they feel they want to deliver their curriculum. And it's a pretty cool thing to sit in those classes, even after being in education for almost 30 years. I love to sit in the classrooms and see how different faculty engage with their students. It's a great job. LPO 1924.
It was like
teacher, or like it was pre-bachelor's. Or you were going to a bachelor's degree, and it was a very select few, very small. If you were a woman, you were probably going to be a nurse or a teacher more than likely. But it was very, very small, and it was very hard focus, really, on transferring to the University of Illinois in most cases. As we really became a community college in the late 60s, that movement from a junior college to community college really opened our doors. And so that's when you talk career tech, you talk associate's degrees, you talk certificates. Then you add in non-credit, then you add in adult education and citizenship classes, and you add in a cooking class for fun, and you add in all the events we do on campus and theater and music. I don't believe that our forefathers thought that we would be this broad.
Now, next week, you'll get a closer look at that cool learning space. Thanks, Kathleen Wayland, for sponsoring this multimedia project every weekend. Now, if you're going to the IVCC 100th anniversary gala, I'll see you there. Otherwise, I'll talk to you in the morning.